Hi everyone, this is Emma Yan, founder of World Legal Resources. World Legal Resources based in Washington, D.C., but now I am in Iowa. Today, I will interview Steve Eckley, a former president, Iowa State Bar Association. How are you, Mr. Eckley?
Doing very well, thank you.
Could you please tell about us who you are?
Well, I'm an attorney in Des Moines, Iowa. Iowa is a state in the middle of the United States, and it has about 3 million people, and this is where I practice law.
Why did you become a lawyer?
Well, when I was young, parents in this country wanted their children to become either a doctor or a lawyer, and people told me I liked to argue a lot, so they said I should be a lawyer. And I thought, well, okay, if that's what I should do, people think I should do, I'll be a lawyer.
What is your educational background?
Well, I went to Drake University, which is a private university here in Des Moines, Iowa, and I was a political science major there. I knew I wanted to go to law school. My grades were good enough at Drake, and my law school admission test scores were good enough that I was able to go to Harvard for law school, and I graduated from Harvard in 1981.
Can you describe your legal career?
Well, after law school, I started practicing law in Kansas City, which is a city of about 2 million people in the state of Missouri, and Missouri is just south of the state of Iowa, so it's also in the middle of the U.S. I practiced in Kansas City for 3 years, and then realized I wanted to come back to my hometown, back to Des Moines, and so I left Kansas City and came to Des Moines to work for a federal judge. And after I spent a couple of years working for the federal judge, I joined a law firm here, and I've been in practice in Des Moines ever since.
Have you received any honors or recognitions?
Yes, I'm a trial lawyer, a civil litigator, so I'm a member of the Iowa Academy of Trial Lawyers, which is reserved for some of the top trial lawyers in the state. I have been named a top 100 trial lawyer and a super lawyer, but also I've been president of the Polk County Bar Association, which is the largest bar association in Iowa other than the State Bar Association. Polk County Bar Association is for lawyers in the Des Moines area. And then I became president of the Iowa State Bar Association. I'm a member also of the bars of Colorado and Missouri, so I can practice law in those states as well as in Iowa. And I've been admitted to the United States Supreme Court, so I'm authorized to practice before the United States Supreme Court. Outside of my profession, I've been involved in a lot of community organizations, served on a lot of boards of directors, been president of several boards. So I try to stay active both in my profession and in the community.
What are some of major areas of practice for lawyers in the United States?
Well, there are many. We have a lot of lawyers in this country, but I would say that some of the major areas are civil law, civil litigation, criminal law, environmental law, employment law, estate planning. There's financial law, government law, trying to think of a few others, but corporate law, commercial law. There's tax law, immigration law, which is something you know a lot about. So yeah, there are many areas of the law in the United States.
What are the areas of law in which you practice?
Well, I'm primarily a civil litigator, and a civil litigator is somebody who represents people or businesses that have a dispute and they're trying to get money. So I might represent a person who was injured in a car accident, trying to get money from the person who caused the accident. Or I might represent a business that's either trying to get money or is trying not to have to pay money to somebody because of a business dispute. So civil litigation, that's people or businesses trying to get money from somebody else.
What kinds of cases do you handle, and for what kinds of clients?
Well, over the years, I've probably done just about every kind of civil litigation case there is. I don't do criminal legal work. I don't do family law, divorce type work. But other than that, I've handled just about every kind of civil litigation matter. But maybe the best thing would just be to describe some of the cases I have right now. Right now, I have some cases for people who suffered personal injuries and are trying to get compensation for those injuries. I've got cases for businesses that have suffered property damage. For example, I represent some businesses who are suing the builder of their office buildings for defective construction. The buildings weren't built properly, and so we're trying to get compensation for that. I've got a case where I'm representing a client that had a contract with a software developer to develop software, and the developer took the money but didn't deliver the software, and so we're trying to get money back from that. I've got a case where I represent a family in Minnesota that lost millions of dollars when they were defrauded by their financial advisor. I know there's some other cases, but I can't think of them offhand.
Okay. Could you please describe the court system in Iowa?
Well, in Iowa, like in every state in the United States, there are both state courts and federal courts. Most of the cases go through the state court system. And in Iowa, again, in all states as far as I know, the state court system begins with what are called small claims courts. Those are courts where there's a limit on the amount of money you can ask for. In Iowa, it's $7,500. So if you have a claim for less than $7,500, you can go to small claims court. You can go to small claims court without an attorney. You don't have to have a lawyer. And a magistrate judge will decide whether you win or lose. If your case is worth more than $7,500 or you're asking for more than that, then you have to go to the district court. And there your case can be decided by either a judge or a jury. You get to choose. And then if you lose at the district court level and you want to appeal, you can go to the Iowa Court of Appeals and argue to them that you didn't get a fair decision at the district court. And if you lose at the Iowa Court of Appeals, you can even go to the Iowa Supreme Court. The federal courts in Iowa and in all states are similar. There's a federal district court level, then the next level is the Court of Appeals, and the next level is the United States Supreme Court. But in our federal court system, there aren't as many cases. They're usually cases that involve federal law or they involve a dispute between citizens of different states. So if somebody from outside the state of Iowa was in a lawsuit with somebody here in Iowa, there's a good chance that lawsuit would be in federal court. And federal court is also where you would have cases against parties from other countries. So that if someone from China were involved in a lawsuit here, there's a good chance it would be in federal court instead of state court.
What are the requirements to practice law in Iowa?
Well, in Iowa, like in most states, you need to have graduated from an accredited law school, and then you need to take the state bar exam and pass that exam, and then you can become a lawyer. In 4 states in this country, and California is the biggest, in 4 states in this country, you don't have to go to law school. Instead, you do an apprenticeship, and then you take the bar exam. And if you pass the bar exam, then you can become a lawyer in 4 states. I think Virginia, which is close to where World Legal Resources has its home office, in Virginia, you don't have to take the bar exam. I'm sorry, I said that wrong. You don't have to go to law school. You have to take the bar exam. You have to do an apprenticeship and then take the bar exam. In California, Virginia, I think the other states are Vermont and Washington, the state of Washington. Those are the 4 states where you can become a lawyer in the United States without going to a law school.
Really? Oh, I only know in California.
Yes.
Wow. How many lawyers are there in Iowa?
The last I knew, it was about 13,000 lawyers in the state of Iowa.
What is the role of the Iowa State Bar Association?
Well, in most states, you are required to belong to the state bar association. They're called mandatory bar associations. But here in Iowa, you can practice law even if you don't belong to the state bar association. So we have what's called a voluntary bar. But even though it's voluntary and it costs money to belong to it, most lawyers in Iowa belong to the State Bar Association. And they do that because the Bar Association helps them become better lawyers, helps them develop as lawyers, and helps them succeed in their legal practice, helps them make more money. So it's a good investment for the lawyers, and we're pleased that so many lawyers voluntarily join our organization.
Have you worked with lawyers and law firms from other countries?
Well, yes. Even though Iowa is in the middle of the United States, we don't border any foreign countries. Even though Iowa is in the middle of the United States, and it's not a large state, we have about 3 million people. There are about 330 million people in the United States. Nonetheless, we frequently work with lawyers from other countries. There is a fair amount of international legal work that happens here in Iowa. So I do get a chance to work with lawyers from other countries.
How did you learn about World Legal Resources?
Well, I learned about World Legal Resources, your company, from friends from China. And they told me first about you, and that you had, at a very young age, become the chief administrative officer of what became the largest law firm in China. One that I understand has 50 offices in different cities in China and offices in a dozen or more countries in the world. So a very large, successful law firm, and you were what we would call the chief administrative officer of that law firm. So incredible that somebody could have that kind of position at such a young age. So clearly you were somebody who was going to be successful at whatever you did, and these friends from China told me that you had started World Legal Resources, and that this was a business that you were building to help lawyers and law firms from China and other countries network with and work with lawyers and law firms in the United States. So that was interesting, but I also learned that World Legal Resources can help lawyers and law firms from other countries form teams with lawyers in the United States to handle large litigation cases. And since I'm a litigator, that was very much of interest to me.
Mr. Eckley, thank you again for your time. I really appreciate that. I hope to see you again.
Well, it was my pleasure, and yes, I do hope we work together again. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.